You could live with thinking.
Who would you choose as Player of the Year on the PBA Tour? Would it be David Ozio, the veteran from Ballard, Texas, who is the leading money winner on tour? He has 3 victories. Would it be fight-sized Petey Weber out of St. Louis, back from a 6-month suspension? He's won 3 times in 16 starts. Or would it be Ballard Jr., another Texan? Ballard has won 3 times in '91 and ranked 6th on the money list. Ozio, Weber, and Ballard. You'll see them all this afternoon on the Chevy Truck Classic. Marcel's Olympic Bowl in Rochester, New York for the Chevy Truck Classic on the PBA Fall Tour. A big crowd on hand here this afternoon, and we're happy to have you with us. Boy, we've got a dandy. Bowler of the Year honors could very well be decided here this afternoon. Hello, everybody. Jay Randolph. Let's take a look at the 5 players that we have in our stepladder finals this afternoon. First of all, Marc McDowell. Then it's David Ozio, followed by Bryan Goebel, Ballard Jr., and Pete Weber. And joining me, of course, is Hall of Famer Earl Anthony. Earl, we have 3 fellows who really have shots at the Bowler of the Year. We've taken a look at them, and there's a lot at stake.
Well, there's much more at stake than most people might realize. Even Norm Duke, who's not in the finals, is still eligible for Bowler of the Year. He's right there in the hunt. John Mazza, the only lefty that has a chance this year. But the 3 players in the top 5 today, as you mentioned, Ozio, Ballard, and, of course, Pete Weber. Anything can happen. There's a lot of grudge matches going on today, a lot of tough pressure players out there, money players. We're going to see some excitement.
And rounding out this top 5, Bryan Goebel, a talented player from out in Kansas, and the PBA's president, Marc McDowell. And McDowell has bowled brilliantly here this week.
He has. Probably the best he's bowled in his career, his young career, and I don't think he's going to be an easy match for any of these guys. As much as they want to be Bowler of the Year, they have to get by McDowell, and he wants to win it probably more than they do.
Let's get to our first match. Pete Weber in the number 5 spot, going up against Ballard Jr. Qualified 5th, a 209.5 average. We mentioned the suspension. He is back and bowling very well. 6 career championship round appearance. We've had low scores here this week, Earl, and I think you expect better scoring here with this 5-some today.
I would expect good scores out of this 5-some. The toughest thing on the lane is the spares, and this opening spare for Pete Weber is very difficult. He has to cover all 3 of the pins with the ball. 2-5-8.
Did it.
There's a little bit, as I mentioned in the opening, a little bit of a grudge match going on between these 2 players. As you remember, Ballard had a tournament locked up, bowling Pete Weber for the championship, threw the ball in the channel. And there have been a lot of balls thrown in the channel this week. It's been an extremely difficult condition. The player's been swinging the ball out near the channel. In fact, in one game last night in match play, Pete Weber threw back-to-back balls in the channel, in the 10th frame.
And Bryan Goebel had one in the channel last night. Ballard, 9 years on tour, 28 years old, Richardson, Texas. Baldo, they call him. 8 career titles. Not to his face, no. Been a wonderful week here. Over 1,200 participating in the Pro-Am. As always, Rochester turns out to welcome the PBA in the fall. And no strikes yet. And a 3-10 lead for Ballard.
Not a difficult spare for a tough player like, he'll switch balls on this. He'll go cross lane at it, try to get the ball to take both pins. In other words, fit it between the 2 pins. Here's a look at that last shot. And the ball just hooked early on him. I think it was a reaction to Pete Weber's ball coming in light, and Ballard kind of made an adjustment off the other player's ball. Slid it right by there.
And Ballard open in the 2nd frame.
You can't give Pete Weber openings like that. Even though it's early in the match, this kid is tough. He is a great aggressive match play player.
Weber with the strike on lane 34. I called him pint-sized in the opening, but he is a giant when it comes to talent.
There's no question about his talent, and everybody will agree that Pete Weber is probably the most talented player in the world at this point. Unfortunately, he can't seem to keep his mind in the game as he's, to match his physical ability. When Pete is on his game, no one can touch him.
And he is in the groove.
Again, the open
smile, look at him.
Right, the open by Del Ballard in the second frame, and as most champions do, Pete Weber comes back with a double. Take advantage of that mistake by Del Ballard.
A little high for Ballard, and he has left the 3-6.
And Del Ballard's a little confused at this point. He's getting an overreaction on his ball. Here's a look at his style. You'll see the arm swing again, as I mentioned before in the past. Look how straight the swing is, the balance, the good knee bend, shoulders directly over the knee. Covers the spare. He's confused right now because the ball is reacting much more than he'd expect it to. I think he has to increase his ball speed a little bit, and that'll keep the ball from hooking early on him. And he's thinking that right now, I'm sure. He's a very experienced player. He will make that kind of an adjustment. He has to stay in that same area of the lane, but he needs more ball speed.
Ballard with a high game of 259, and he comes back with a strike.
NBC Sports coverage of the PBA Fall Tour is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the trucks you can depend on, the trucks that last. By Old Spice Fragrance and Aftershave, cool, crisp, and unmistakably masculine. Old Spice. By Brunswick, bowling is sold on Brunswick. And by Kellogg's, the best to you each morning.
Stood there boldly, sweating in the sun. Felt like a million, felt like number one. Like a rock, I was strong as I could be. Like a rock, nothing ever got to me. Like a rock, I was something to see. Like a rock,
the trucks you can depend on, the trucks that last.
like a rock,
Chevy Trucks.
standing arrow straight. Like a rock, charging from the gate. Like a rock, carrying the weight. Like a rock, like a rock.
Just flakes, huh? A little old-fashioned, don't you think? It's too simple. I mean, I know you're going for that good old days thing, but all this makes me think of is the Depression. Now, wait a minute. This doesn't taste old-fashioned. It's good. I like this simple. I like it a lot.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Taste them again for the first time.
The Dolphins, the Bears, a showdown of two playoff contenders. Sunday.
Del Ballard down by 33. Weber with 4 in a row. Striking in the 4th and 5th. Ballard with strikes in the 4th and 5th. He's gotten a re-rack. Ready to go on lane 33. 6th frame. And these two really warming up now, Earl.
And they want each other bad. You see a lot of smiling and stuff right now, but I tell you what, this is two very talented players who feel that if they win this match, they can go through the rest of the field, even though you've got some very talented people above them. this match is all important in their mind.
Oh, boy. A 5-pin.
And almost a look of shock on Pete Weber's face as he leaves the 5-pin. Very seldom you see Pete Weber leave a 5-pin in the pocket.
Pete Weber, at age 29, with 18 PBA national titles, 12 years on tour. Son of the Hall of Famer, Dick Weber. It's good to know that Dick is feeling much better after a slight stroke that he had last month. And there is Pete's new wife, and she has done so much for him. Kim. Pete, as everybody in the bowling world knows, has his share of problems, especially when it comes to controlling himself, and that was the cause, of course, of the 6-month suspension. Some actions detrimental to the tour, but he is back and seems more mature and in better control of himself. And the 10-pin is standing. Weber on the TV pair averaged 242 in 2 games. His high game 257 last night in the position round that moved him from 7th into the number 5 spot.
Ooh, and a major mistake there by Pete Weber. Del Ballard on 3 in a row, a chance to get back into the match.
We'll be back with more of this first match in the Chevy Truck Classic. Weber's lead is cut to just 10. More in a moment.
If you're into looking good, get into Bud Light. The clean, fresh taste won't fill you up, never let you down.
The Brunswick Phantom. Bowling's first ball with a built-in guidance system. Programmable to your game. Phantom's Stealth Core system works like onboard intelligence to give you unbelievable consistency and reaction predictability every time you strike. Get a Phantom. It's the guidance system for your game.
The American Society for Testing and Materials set a new technical standard for antifreeze used to protect heavy-duty truck engines against boiling, freeze-ups, and corrosion. Only one of the 3 best-selling antifreeze brands made for cars meet that standard. It's the patented car antifreeze that can also keep heavy-duty engines running at their peak. Protect your engine from freeze-ups and boilovers. Remember the heavy-duty standard. Don't stop short of the peak.
Personnel, please. 7th floor.
Now, when life turns up the heat, there's Degree antiperspirant. Because it's body heat activated, Degree turns on extra protection when you really need it. Degree, your body heat turns it on.
Welcome back to Marcel's Olympic Bowl in Rochester, New York. As match 1 comes down to the wire, we'll remind you about Thanksgiving Day as we look at Del Ballard. Ballard now has taken the lead, and he has 6 strikes in a row and a 10-pin lead. Some comeback. Thanksgiving Day, it all starts at 3:30 Eastern, NFL Live, and then you'll see the Dallas Cowboys trying to keep their wild card playoff hopes alive against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A special Thanksgiving Day football, Texas style, 3:30 Eastern on NBC.
All right, into the 10th frame. Del Ballard, as you mentioned, on 6 in a row. Possible 257 if he should take it all the way out. And remember, he had that open back in the 2nd frame when he had that small split that looked like it was going to be very costly when Pete Weber strung 4 in a row on top of that open. Now Del Ballard, with 7 strikes in a row, has a chance to shut Pete Weber out in the 10th frame.
And Weber, with that open in the 7th, it was a crusher for him.
When he missed the 10-pin, and it was a major mistake. Something you very seldom see Pete Weber do, and you can see the tension in his eyes. Just to lock up the match. Well, as you would expect from two great players, it's going to come down to the last ball. Del Ballard, a possible 246. Pete Weber could still bowl 247 with 3 strikes in a 10th, and as always, a possibility of a tie, a 2-frame roll-off.
With this marvelous field on hand here this afternoon, this one is off to just the kind of start we expected.
And I expect it to continue like this, Jay. 5 great players with a lot at stake. All right, Pete Weber, as you can see on your screen, needs 3 strikes to win. Let's watch.
That's one. Boy, oh boy, was that ever in the pocket.
It's what you would expect out of Pete Weber. He's a very aggressive player, and as we've mentioned, a tremendous talent. Lots of confidence in this young man's mind. He expects to get all 3 strikes. More room.
That's 2.
Remember, if he gets 9 on this ball, we have a tie.
Ballard, nothing he can do but sit and watch at this point.
He's thinking back to the second ball in the 10th when he could have shut Pete Weber out with a strike. Here's another look at that last shot. Way out near the channel. Much more room on that, but the tremendous rotation gets the ball back and the reaction of Pete Weber. This is the one. Big, deep breath.
Opening match. Weber 247 to 246 over Del Ballard. And this crowd yelling, Pete, Pete, Pete. And all Ballard can do is head for the paddock.
2 mistakes in the game for Del Ballard. 1 for Pete Weber when he missed the 10th inning. Ballard had the split in the 2nd frame and then did not strike in the 11th when he needed it. Pete Weber showed you why he's a great champion.
We'll be back with our second match in the Chevy Truck Classic as Pete Weber will face Bryan Goebel. That's coming up.
Sumo, flat out, more power than you've ever seen in a bowling center.
This season, give the Olympics triple cast of the 92 Summer Games. Call 1-800-OLYMPIC, order the gold package and get a set of Olympic pins, a commemorative book, the 92 highlights tape, and 2 solid weeks of all the best events. Order now and get a free Olympic warm-up jacket. Give the Olympics triple cast. Catch the fire behind the plane.
Crisp, clean. Old Spice. It puts the wind in your sails.
Here are the top 24 this week at Marcel's Olympic Bowl in the Lilac City, Rochester, New York. Here along the banks of the Genesee River. It's been a tremendous week of bowling.
A lot of talented players in that made the match play that obviously aren't on the telecast today. But it was a difficult condition. The scores were low. It took some great shot making to make it into the match play, Jay. And this being one of the winding down tournaments for the PBA Fall Tour, and of course for the players that are going for Bowler of the Year.
Hall of Famer Gary Dickinson was in shape to make it and then failed at the last.
Which is unusual because Gary's usually very good. Mark Williams, another great player, a two-time Firestone winner. Curtis Odom, a very talented young man. You'll see him in the television finals next year, I'm sure.
And it was Hook and Bob Handley out of Pompano Beach, Florida, that
fell out the last game. Fell out the last game last night.
Well, the final score in this first match, Weber by 1, 247-246 over Del Ballard. And we're going to show you that final strike that got Weber the 1-point win. And look at the reaction. That has to be a confidence builder.
And what he's saying right there is, I'm back. Exactly what he said, I'm back. And I'll tell you what, when he walks into the locker room, every PBA player knows he's back. Pete Weber is there to play.
Weber's 6th championship round appearance of this year, even though he sat out for 6 months. Was a little high, got away from him, and he leaves the 6th pin.
That's an emotional letdown right there for Pete Weber. He's got to get his head back into the match right now. He's thinking that last match, that one he just turned a little early, set the ball down, got it hooking a little early.
How good is this field today? We weren't exaggerating, Earl. 39 titles among Marc McDowell, David Ozio, Bryan Goebel, Del Ballard, and Pete Weber. Weber with 18, of course.
And here's the young man. We've talked about the players in this top 5 that are trying to be Bowler of the Year and have that opportunity by winning maybe today to lock it up. This is a young man that could be the spoiler.
Leaves the 4-pin. Bryan out of Marion, Kansas, a 10-year member of the PBA, 30 years old. And Earl, he's wearing a lilac shirt today. Of course, this is the Lilac City, and that color predominates around here at Marcel's Olympic Bowl.
It sure does. And this guy, as I was going to mention, could be the spoiler. He didn't get here by default. He's a very talented young man. He's an aggressive player. And if he gets it going against Pete Weber will have his hands full. He can't afford to let down. Bryan Goebel will come at you. What a great opening match, and we expect more just like it.
His 8th career championship round. A reminder coming up. Earl Anthony will be joining you with Beyond the Foul Line. He'll be talking about equipment, that special feature brought to you by the American Bowling Congress. There we go. Bryan, a fan of the Kansas Jayhawks. He loves that basketball out there in Lawrence. And he is from Merriam, Kansas. Now Weber. One of 3 players to win the Triple Crown. A little high, but he got him.
And for those of you who may not be aware, as you saw that stat on Pete Weber, one of 3 players to win the Triple Crown. The PBA Triple Crown is the PBA National Championship, the Firestone Tournament Champions, and of course the U.S. Open.
The others who have done it, Billy Hardwick and John Petraglia. John here today.
All Hall of Famers, and this young man will definitely be in the PBA Hall of Fame.
Weber up by 10.
And here's a look at that last shot. And what Pete Weber does probably better than anybody else in the game is get the ball well out in front before he turns it. When he makes a mistake, he sets it short. If he sets it short, it could be anything. But when he gets it out in front, he's got everything going for him. No one's ball hits harder in the pin deck area than Pete Weber's.
Bryan left with another 4-pin. He comes out of the chute very slowly and deliberately.
He does. Now, here's a good look at the style of Bryan Goebel. He's a very deliberate player, as you mentioned, Jay. The long, fluid arm swing. Watch him get the slide way down. He's very low for a tall player. And great extension. The strength in his game is the extension. He gets his arm well out down the target line. When you do that, you have tremendous control of the ball, and your fingers stay on the ball longer after your thumb is out, which what creates the heavy roll that Bryan Goebel gets on the ball. Instead of the rotation on the side, as you get a good look at his wife here, this is Kelly, and she's a sweetheart. As you get a good look at Kelly, at Bryan Goebel's style again here, the long extension creates the direction. That's why he's such an accurate player and gets a heavy forward roll on the ball rather than the side turn that Pete Weber gets.
And on 33, a strike. His high game here this week was 279. We'll be back with more of this second match of the $150,000 Chevy Truck Classic right after these messages.
When you play the game and you're looking good, there's a Bud Light way and it's understood.
If you're into looking good, get into Bud Light. The clean, fresh taste won't fill you up, never let you down.
Do you taste it, feel it, know you got it right? Because everything else is just a light. Bud Light, just a light. My hands were steady, my eyes were clear and bright.
Chevy owners get all the breaks.
My walk had purpose, my steps were quick and light. And I held firm to what I felt was right, like a rock.
Every 92 Chevy pickup, Astro, Suburban, and Blazer gives you anti-lock brakes standard. Chevrolet, the trucks you can depend on, the trucks that last.
Oh, like a rock.
Some things change.
I got no complaint.
Some things don't.
If you win big, you got to win bigger.
OJ goes one-on-one with Iron Mike Ditka Sunday.
The action of the PBA Fall Tour continuing here in Rochester, New York, and of course tomorrow after NFL Live, most of you will see the Bills take on the New England Patriots. Others watch the Chiefs in Cleveland, the Raiders at Cincinnati, or Houston at Pittsburgh. The second half of the doubleheader, that Miami Dolphins Chicago Bear game, Denver's at Seattle, San Diego at the Jets. Check your local listings. Bryan Goebel now with 3 in a row has taken the lead over Pete Weber here in this second match. And the 10-pin won't go down. It was on that lane 34 that Weber came up with those 3 big strikes to win that first match by 1 over Ballard Jr.
In the fourth frame on this very same lane, he left the 4-pin when the ball was a little high in the pocket. Pete making the normal adjustment, trying to get the ball a little farther down the lane before Hook came in a little bit behind the head pin, and that'll always leave the 10. Bryan Goebel, very pumped up for this match, knows he has to get out in front against Pete Weber. He can't afford a mistake, as you saw what happened to Ballard Jr. in the first match. He made the mistake, and Pete Weber took advantage of it.
Last time he was on TV, he won his 18th title, the U.S. Open in Indianapolis. Trying to go from the number 5 spot here.
And that's what he did there, Jay. He came from 5th to win that tournament.
And they go down. And he's a very happy gentleman. So is Kim. More coverage of the Chevy Truck Classic from here in Rochester. We'll be back. Weber going against Goebel. More in a moment.
Monday on Fresh Prince, while Mumsy and Dads are away, the kids are on their best behavior.
Party machine, this is Will.
Until Belle Biv DeVoe drops by. For house party hysteria. Then on Blossom, will sexy Susan Anton become the kids' dream mom?
Isn't he precious? Whoa!
It's the Don't Miss Blossom of the Year on an all-new NBC Monday.
At SEPTA, we've been so busy improving the system, maybe we've neglected showing you how to use SEPTA. So Tuesday, November 26th, look for this information package in your newspaper. It will tell you how to get the right schedules mailed to you, to make it easier to get to work, to school, shopping, or to your doctor. Come home to your roots. Use SEPTA.
1, 2, 3! Announcing the Chrysler Plymouth Triple Threat Countdown, but only for a limited time. 1, low financing, as low as 0% on Sundance, Voyager, and Acclaim. Or 2, big rebates, $1,000 on Voyager and Sundance, $1,500 on Acclaim. Or 3, get low monthly payments. Own this Sundance for as little as $168 a month with low 48-month financing. The Chrysler Plymouth Triple Threat Countdown. Low financing, big rebates, low monthly payments. But time's running out. In soon.
Squaring off over abortion. Is it a right or is it a wrong? Tonight at 7.
Up next, NBC Sports proudly presents a very special Olympic showcase. Mike Krzyzewski's Duke Blue Devils and the USSR national team. Get ready for some fast-paced basketball action. That's next, right here on NBC Sports. Pete Weber strikes in the 7th and 8th. But Goebel, with 4 strikes in the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, has the lead by 21. Gotta hurry. It does. Ooh, that one came out of nowhere.
And as we thought, Jay, we're coming down to the same situation we did in the last game. We're going to get another look at Pete Weber's ball. Again, he's very deep in the lane. By that, I mean the ball going well down the lane, out near the channel. But look at the side rotation, brings the ball back, kicks the 10 out. Bryan Goebel on 5 in a row. He needs 2 more, believe it or not, to lock up this match.
And another 4-pin.
All right, both players at this point going at a possible 2:49 pace. Again, we're in a position for that tie. This is the 9th frame. Bryan Goebel needs a spare here. Here's another look at that last shot. And you can see the difference in the rotation. The end-over-end roll that Bryan Goebel gets on his ball as opposed to the tremendous side rotation that Pete Weber gets. And that's just how you rotate your wrist at the point of release. Right now, they're dead even going into the 10th frame. And Bryan Goebel, he still cannot win this match. Even if he strikes out in the 10th. He needs to get all 3 to shoot 249. Pete Weber still has a possible 249.
Bryan joined the tour in '81. Credited his success on the tour to his regional program experience.
A little more ball speed on that one, Jay, but he got it back in the pocket, that heavy forward roll. But you can see the strength of his game is that long extension. He has long arms, and he uses them to the maximum advantage by getting the ball well out of the lane and staying with it. He will not cut the ball short. Here's a look at the rotation of the ball, the end-over-end rolls. It turns in. Tremendous pin action. And that was the key strike. He had to have that one to make Pete Weber get the first strike in the 10th. This one to make Pete Weber double.
You saw that graphic. He defeated Weber in match play here, and his missus, Kelly, rooting for him right now. Here's his reaction after that last strike.
And each one more important than the last. He strikes here. The best Pete Weber can do is tie.
Oh, boy. Sensational bowling here in Rochester.
The best bowlers in the world showing you why they are the best. They can perform in the clutch. Pete Weber has to do it again. He did it last time against Ballard. Can he answer the challenge twice in a row? Here's where we'll watch. 3 strikes to tie.
And we don't need to say much at this point of the proceedings. He needs 3 to tie, and here we go. Weber on 34. That's one.
The look in Pete Weber's eyes, you can see in his eyes, he has tremendous
two ladies,
confidence.
they're trying to laugh, but I'll tell you, this crowd has really appreciated the action they have seen so far here this afternoon. This has been remarkable play.
remember, if he strikes here, we tie. And if there's a tie, there'll be a 9th and 10th frame roll-off. Another look at that last shot. Now watch how slow and deliberate, the tremendous rotation. The ball well out in front. Very confident player. Very talented player.
And Pete's reaction. Can he throw one more strike and take this to a tie? Well, it's the other way around this time. Bryan Goebel wins it 249 to 248, and this crowd has been treated to 2 tremendous matches here.
It's an old cliche, but folks, it just doesn't get any better than this.
You can use that cliche this afternoon, believe me. Bryan Goebel, the young man from the plains of Kansas, will march on to face David Ozio. More of this exciting action coming up for you. Match 3. Goebel and Ozio in just a moment.
Kinder? Gentler? No way.
Like a rock, I was strong as I could be. Like a rock, nothing ever got to me.
Chevy S10 pickup, powered by the biggest V6 available. Chevy Trucks.
Like a rock,
The trucks you can depend on, and trucks that last.
They're not doing anything. Where's the surprise? What? Do they whistle or turn purple or something? These are just flakes. Now that's a surprise. They don't have to do anything. They just taste good. Simplicity. It's very tricky. I like that. What are you going to call them?
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes? Isn't that name taken?
Taste them again for the first time.
They named her Lucky Lady. But it'll take sweat, not luck, to get her flying again. And you need a deodorant you can depend on. Old Spice Deodorant actually helps stop odor before it starts by killing odor-causing bacteria on contact. 99%. That's odor prevention you can count on with the clean scent of Old Spice.
Could I tear you away from your lady friend?
Old Spice Deodorant. It does a number on odor-causing bacteria, 99%.
Today, East meets West on the hard court as the national champion Duke Blue Devils battle the USSR. Time now for Beyond the Foul Line with Earl Anthony. Brought to you by the American Bowling Congress.
Although people join sanctioned leagues for different reasons, they still want to bowl the best they can to have a shot at all those beautiful awards. The way your bowling equipment is fitted will have a definite effect on how you score. And with me today, the roving ambassador for the American Bowling Congress, Mike Albee. Mike, what are some of the things people should be aware of when they're having their ball fitted?
First of all, you can't bowl with a house ball every week and expect to set the world on fire because the ball fits and reacts a little differently. You need to have the equipment that fits comfortably and fits your game. Your local pro shop has the greatest selection and the expertise to get the ball that fits you best.
Okay, so I go to the local pro shop and he decides whether it's going to be a plastic or urethane because he knows where I'm going to bowl and that kind of thing. Well, what about the spans? How should it fit my hand lengthwise? Get that good feel based on my skill level.
Well, there's 3 basic examples. The first one for the lower average bowler so he can get a better feel of the ball, that's the conventional grip. You put your fingers in all the way to the second joint. This gives him a better feel of the ball. Then you have the semi-fingertip grip where you put your fingers in to split the first and the second joint. You put it in halfway. This gives you a little bit better ball reaction, a little more lift. For the higher average bowler, you go to the full fingertip grip and you put the ball all the way into your first finger joint. This gives maximum revolution and lift on the ball for better strikes.
Okay, there's one other thing I want to ask you about. What about the grips you see that especially the higher average bowlers seem to use in the finger holes and the thumb hole?
Well, it's good for all bowlers because they also have them in the thumb grip so you get the same feel from bowling ball to bowling ball. And in the finger grips, you're allowed more comfort, but plus it gives you more lift with less effort.
Okay, so you get more control, more revolutions, more strikes. Now, let's put that information to use, and the best place is by joining an organized league at your local bowling center. For more information on having your equipment fitted, contact the American Bowling Congress.
And back here, we have had Bryan Goebel come through with a one-pin victory over Pete Weber, 249 to 248. And the match that we are about to watch will be between Goebel and David Ozio. Ozio, the #1 man in the money list right now. And this has been something. After 2 matches, 33 strikes, 11 spares, 2 opens, 72% strikes. The bowlers have averaged 247.5 so far this afternoon. Ozio qualifying second with a 213. And he starts off in fine fashion.
Well, Bryan Goebel definitely has his hands full here. Pete Weber probably strikes fear in any player's heart when he's going to bowl him, but David Ozio is on top of his game, and he might be considered the best money player on the tour. He is a great match game player, and Bryan Goebel, after beating Pete Weber, could have a letdown. And there's the first mistake. He got away with it, only the 10th inning. A lot of adrenaline was, I'm sure, flowing when he bowled Pete Weber. And here's a look at that first release. A little softer with the ball speed. Almost like, well, I'm out of that first one. Now I can relax a little bit. You cannot relax against David Ozio.
He came all the way from 34th after the second round to finish 3rd and make the stepladder finals, did Bryan Goebel. We had no 300 games here this week, but as you expected, Earl, the play has really improved today. 8-5 in his career in the championship rounds and a 214.15 average for Bryan Goebel. High games this week. Steve Cook at 299 and Mark Bowers 289. We had 7 at 279. One of those players was David Ozio. Another was Bryan Goebel. Well, maybe that lilac shirt he's wearing is going to bring him a lot of luck this afternoon.
Well, he has tremendous talent. I don't think he needs a lot of luck, but you need everything you can get. As I mentioned, David Ozio is a great money player. He knows what's at stake here. Bowler of the Year race up for grabs, but he is the #1 candidate at this point. A win today could lock him in.
And the strike for David.
And a very unusual release there. David kind of just let that get off his hand. As you get a look at his bio here, David, 37, his hometown Vidor, Texas, and a PBA member for 13 years, and has had a lot of success.
And a win today, he would become the 19th player in PBA history to win 4 or more titles in a single year.
And here's a look at that last shot. And he kind of sticks at the foul line and doesn't follow through. Watch the ball just kind of go off his hand. And you can see they lose the balance there. And after that shot, he did check the approach. I think he's got a little problem with the approach on that.
Oh, big break. The
Very big
pin
break.
went down late.
From a difficult spare, a very difficult spare to a very easy spare, only the 2-pin. We're going to get another look at that shot. David seems to be having trouble with his footwork right now. His game is so solid at the foul line. And as you see the ball coming behind the head pin, he's not really getting good balance at the foul line. Normally, he's one of the best stylists on the tour. I'm sure he'll get that figured out. He got away with one there. Bryan Goebel on a strike, a chance to take an early lead here.
To finish 5th at the Senior Touring Pro Doubles in Buffalo, New York, earlier this year.
Glenn Carlson, what a guy he is.
Oh, boy.
He's a lovely man. He's a very good friend of mine. You know, some notable players, Jay, that did not make the match play but did get a check this week. For example, Walter Ray Williams, former Bowler of the Year. Dave Husted, a great player. Norm Duke, who is in the running for Bowler of the Year, finished 31st. Marshall Holman, another great player and former Bowler of the Year, was 39th. And Wayne Webb, another Bowler of the Year, was 51st. And if Mark Roth is your favorite player, he was 45th.
And another strike for Goebel. That's 3 in a row. He has the early lead over David Ozio. More of this action from the Chevy Truck Classic in Rochester in a moment.
Lock on target.
The Brunswick Phantom. bowling's first ball with a built-in guidance system, programmable to your game. Phantom's Stealth Core system works like onboard intelligence to give you unbelievable consistency and reaction predictability every time you strike. Get a Phantom. It's the guidance system for your game.
Born of the finest natural ingredients, then brewed and aged with extra care for that clean, crisp, cold taste. The taste only Budweiser can deliver.
And we'll toast and cheer with the king of beers.
The king of beers.
Nothing beats a Bud.
I'll put you next to Dad. Now, when life turns up the heat, there's Degree antiperspirant. Because it's body heat activated, Degree turns on extra protection when you really need it. Degree, your body heat turns it on.
David Ozio down by 13, fifth frame, a spare in the fourth. Looking a little confused at the moment. That got the job done right there.
The player who finishes higher in the standings, and in this case David Ozio, has a choice of starting lanes. And at the last moment, David Ozio changed his choice of starting lanes. He was going to start on 34. He changed it to 33, which means Bryan Goebel will finish first in the match, which sometimes is a psychological edge. The reason he changed, we don't know for sure, but he does have that option, and he made that change.
4 in a row for Goebel. Lead of 23.
Remember, we told you how difficult the lanes were this week. It only took a 200 average to get a check. In other words, 52nd place, the player averaged 200. To make the match play finals, just 105 over, which is only slightly better than 205, almost 206 average. So you can see the scoring was difficult. This is a huge center. The players had to go from section to section. This particular bowling center is built in sections. And each section has a different ball reaction on the lane. So it took the players with a lot of experience, the players who know how to adjust quickly to varying lane conditions, is ones you see here today. The best players in the PBA Tour are the ones you'll see come to the fore in that kind of a circumstance.
Ozio is down by 33. If he could finish first or second, he would become the fourth player in PBA history to crack the $200,000 mark in yearly earnings.
And as I mentioned, David Ozio is one of the best stylists on the tour. He has a very sound, fundamental game. If you're going to copy a style, this is the one you want right here. Look at the tremendous balance, the long follow-through. He stays down over the target, chases the ball with his hand, the knees perfectly bent, his shoulders right at the point of the knee. That's where you should be to make that good long follow-through for the consistent ball reaction. No one works harder at the game, practice-wise, than David Ozio.
And Ozio coming back with strikes in the 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Everyone seems able to respond. It's amazing how they can respond when they're in trouble.
And we'll be back with more of this action from Marcel's Olympic Bowl in Rochester in a moment.
In the tradition that switched at birth.
I want to know that Jay's my kid, and I want Jay to know it too.
It could happen to any family.
Did I do something wrong?
A child trapped by his mother's lies.
The birth certificate is a lie.
And a father who fought to save him.
I don't want to lose him.
A story that could be your very own.
Please, Daddy.
Deceptions, A Mother's Secret, NBC Sunday.
I've spent a lot of time up in the wild blue yonder. That's a place where up to 42% of the heat from your gas furnace can go if it's 10 years old. Change to a new Bryant Plus 90 gas furnace. It's 96% fuel efficient.
For gas furnaces that are built with the right stuff to last, check your yellow pages for the Bryant dealer near you.
So get a Bryant Plus 90 and bring your fuel bill back down to earth. Bryant, the right stuff to last.
1, 2, 3.
A
Announcing the Chrysler Plymouth Triple Threat Countdown, but only for a limited time. 1, low financing, as low as 0% on Sundance, Voyager, and Acclaim. Or 2, big rebates, $1,000 on Voyager and Sundance, $1,500 on Acclaim. Or 3, get low monthly payments. Own this Sundance for as little as $168 a month with low 48-month financing. The Chrysler Plymouth Triple Threat Countdown. Low financing, big rebates, low monthly payments. But time's running out. In soon.
Was Kennedy secretly married before Jackie O?
Along with Earl Anthony, this is Jay Randolph at Marcel's Olympic Bowl. This big crowd watching this tremendous action this afternoon. And a reminder, of course, next Saturday, we will be in Taylor, Michigan for the Bud Light Touring Players Championship. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot on the line that afternoon.
It's beginning to look that way, Jay.
Bryan Goebel, David Ozio, and a dandy. Goebel threw his fill ball in the 10th frame last night into the channel in a match against McDowell, dropping him into a second-place tie with Ozio. And in the roll-off, Ozio grabbed the second seed. The scores were 192-176. Scoring today much better, and that stopped the streak at 5 in a row. Another 4-pin.
When you're leaving a 4-pin, it's not, you don't really want to make an adjustment on the lane. All you want to do is maybe vary your ball speed a little bit, increase the speed a little bit. When you're leaving a 10-pin, the ball is coming in behind the head pin. You have to make lane adjustments. So if you're leaving 4 pins, you're entering the pins at the right angle to strike. You just have to increase the speed a little bit. Almost got lazy there, Jay, and let him get away.
Oh, yeah,
look at him. Major mistake.
The lead is 12 for Goebel. This was close.
You can see the ball sliding. The players try to go directly at the pins. They don't want to hook the ball. They just throw it hard and straight, and he just let that one get off his hand a little quicker than he wanted it to. And he almost got lazy and missed it.
He's got a hot foot out there.
Well, I'll tell you, that looks like it's lucky, folks, but it's not. That's that tremendous rotation plus the angle, the entry angle the ball has. He's playing way out near the channel. He's getting a tremendous drive on the back of the ball when the ball enters the pin deck area. And that's what creates that hit him thin, watch him spin. And here's a reaction on that last shot. They expect to carry that shot. And they'd actually rather hit light in the pocket than solid, because they'll carry better on the light hit. With that heavy rotation and roll on the ball, they'll get more pin action.
A win today for Ozio would mean he would become the 31st player in the PBA's history to win 10 or more titles.
Players are allowed 2 re-racks per game, and then after that they have to shoot what's standing, and Ozio has used his 2 re-racks. Solid 10. And that's what when I just mentioned, the fact that the players would rather hit light in the pocket, as Bryan Goebel did, knowing that with that angle and all that roll they get on the ball, today's bowling balls hit so hard that they'll carry a higher percentage of light hits than they will this one here. We've completed 8 frames to this point. It's still anyone's match. David Ozio has a possible 246. We're going into the 9th frame. He'll bowl first in the 9th. Bryan Goebel has a possible 269. So anything can happen. A must strike here for David Ozio to keep any pressure at all on Bryan Goebel. Got to hurry. Oh, my. Trust is a must. But he did trust that one a lot. That one's out near the channel. Now remember, there were some balls in the channel this week. You get it out a little too far, and it just falls off the cliff, and it's gone. Nobody can hook it in the air.
We saw Ozio throw one in the channel on our TV show last week in Chicago. Oh, Bryan's really feeling it. He's up by 23.
A strike here would win the match. A 9-count spare strike would win the match. A lot of ways. Anything but an open, and Bryan Goebel's in great shape. David Ozio, possible 246. Bryan Goebel right now going at a 249 pace. 10th frame per shot.
Well, he got away with one that time.
He did, and he got the ball well inside of his target. It was not anywhere near what he was trying to do with the ball and what he's done. He got on the side of the ball, got it inside his target. Get your hand on the side of the ball, it always hooks early.
He needs the strike and then 9 pin.
Needs the spare. If he follows it up with 9 count on the next shot,
I'm sorry, not the strike.
He'll be a winner. He almost missed his last 1-pin spare.
Right.
A little more concentration and time.
And now it is 9, a magic number for him.
When you need 9, go for the strike. Don't try to get cute and just try to hit the head pin because you'll get 8 or 7. He will make as good a shot as possible throwing a strike ball here. More speed, more room. Major mistake there.
Boy.
Well, we'll see if David Ozio can answer the call, as Pete Weber had to do twice and did once. Here's another look at that shot. Remember, I said more speed, more room, and it did not have enough to get back.
And now Ozio.
2 strikes and 9 for David Ozio as a winner.
And now Goebel is there watching. Remarkable play we've had today.
And you can see
first 2 matches decided by 1 pin.
Bryan Goebel doesn't even want to look. He knows this guy is tough in the clutch. A little movement out there bothered him. He'll set and start over again. On resetting there, now again, David Ozio, there's so much on the line for him here. The chance to be bowler of the year. If he wins today, he could lock it up just about. In my opinion, Jay, he would be bowler of the year. The next thing you've got to remember right there, he set and started over again, and when he did that, you have 25 seconds to get rid of the ball. He was willing to take the fine, the $100 fine, to get started again. That's how important this is for David Ozio. He's not going to rush. He's in the same situation that Bryan Goebel was.
The shoe is now on the other foot.
Exactly. 9 pins or more is a winner. Great clutch bowling today. Fantastic.
You mentioned how talented Ozio is in the clutch. I guess the word you fellows use is he's a great action bowler.
Action is where it's at. And in Texas, you can get all you want.
All the action you want. Here we go.
9 or more to win. Gotta hurry.
And David Ozio has defeated Bryan Goebel 246 to 244. Ozio now will definitely go over the $200,000 mark. And another remarkable match here in Rochester. Well, I'm running out of adjectives, Earl.
Well, we said it doesn't get any better than this, and here's a look at that last shot for all the marbles. A chance to go on and lock up bowler of the year, and he made a great shot. Hit him thin and watch him spin. There's the reaction of David Ozio.
And the reaction of Bryan Goebel.
He has only himself to blame, and I know he'll be thinking about that before he sleeps tonight, Jay.
Uninterrupted coverage of the championship match is coming up. David Ozio meets Marc McDowell for the title and $27,000.
So, how's it looking there? Really, sorry to hear that.
I meant to, but I just have been very busy. I've been brushing, but just not with the tartar control crest.
Tartar Control Crest helps stop tartar where it starts. It penetrates plaque before it hardens for easier cleanings, and more dentists recommend it.
That was easy. You know, I've been using a tartar control crest.
The dentist's choice is the easy choice.
Ever hear this stuff?
It's not easy to pull yourself away from a bowl of Kellogg's Raisin Bran. For two scoops of raisins taste so good, you'll find that once you stop, you can't leave them behind. It does. 2 scoops that taste too good to pull yourself away. 2 scoops of raisins for them flakes of bran. Get every bite you can of those. 2 scoops that taste too good to pull yourself away. 2 scoops that taste too good in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. 2 scoops.
It's NBC's world premiere weekend. First on Sunday. Sunday nights are heating up.
It's too hot.
The best in country, the best in comedy, the best thing to happen to Sundays since football.
You gotta be there.
This ain't no video show. It's the real thing. The world premiere of Hot Country Nights, Sunday at 8, 7 Central. Also on NBC Sunday.
The birth certificate is a lie.
A child trapped by his mother's lies. A father trying to save his only son.
I don't want to lose her.
A son that may not be his.
Please, Daddy.
From the network that brought you Switched at Birth comes Deceptions, a Mother's Secret. Then, on Monday, what would you do if someone violated your daughter?
You let him get away?
Meredith Baxter is an angry mother.
You guys don't think rape is a real crime.
Determined to get her own kind of justice.
He's going to be so sorry he touched my girl.
Based on a true story, A Mother's Justice, the world premiere of Hot Country Nights, and Deceptions, A Mother's Secret Sunday, and A Mother's Justice Monday. World premiere weekend on NBC.
This is the way it's been. Weber, 247, 246 over Ballard, match 1. Then, Goebel, 249, 248 over Weber, match 2. And then the two-pinner, Ozio, coming back, 246, 244 over Goebel. And we're getting ready now for the championship match as Ozio goes up against the #1 man, Marc McDowell, this week.
And I had a chance to talk to Marc McDowell a little bit earlier, and I asked him, does he feel any added pressure after losing twice from #1?
Not really, no. I feel more determined than ever, and I feel like I've paid my dues. I feel like this is my tournament to win. I'm going to go out and be aggressive, stay loose, and have a good time and bring the title home.
Marc McDowell on the left, David Ozio on the right. And Ozio will get it started. First prize, $27,000.
Something kind of interesting. Marc McDowell is a very intelligent young man. As you know, he's the president right now of the Professional Bowlers Association. And guess what he was doing before he practiced today, Jay? He was sitting in the press room reading a book on positive thinking.
Well, it's not a bad idea, but now he will have to perform against one of the best, Mr. Ozio. McDowell, 0-2 from the top-seeded position. Has a PBA record in '86. His rookie earnings, #1 all time, better than 51,000. A little high and a split right off the bat for McDowell.
Well, if you're going to get one, and those things happen, now's the time to do it, early in the match. We'll get another look at that. Now, Marc McDowell, as you can see, the ball right from his hand went through the middle of the headpin. He has a timing step, and we'll show you that a little bit later in his approach, where he has a little skip in there. And what it does is it gets his feet in time with the ball. Made a try at it.
Wonderful try.
Gets his feet in position so that he can be balanced at the foul line. And if he gets a little fast, he gets out of time, and then he'll make that kind of mistake. And right now, he's a little nervous. As you can see, his bio.
Came out of great college program at West Texas State, Canyon, Texas, although he is from Wisconsin. 15th career championship round appearance for him. He cracked the $100,000 mark in yearly earnings for the first time if he can win this one today. He's having some trouble. Talk about that approach of his. He's got a little hitch in his give-along.
That's a good way to describe it, Jay. And here's a look at his footwork. Watch between the third and fourth step. You see the even pace, the first two. Here's the third step. Now watch him kind of hitch it in there. See that little skip right there? And then get back into position at the foul line. And that's what you call a timing step. He feels where the ball is in his swing. He hurries his footwork to catch up with the ball and gets set at the line.
you're just joining us in the first 3 matches this afternoon, we've had 49 strikes out of 70 shots. That's 70% strikes. Ozio's high game this week, 279 in round 6. Low game, of course, 162. Careful. In round 5, and he's a little high. And a 6-10 lead for Ozio.
And you can see that David is very disappointed in that shot himself for making that kind of shot. Not often he makes mistakes high. If he makes mistakes, he usually is a little light in the pocket. In other words, light on the head pin. Cross lane, both pins with the ball. Good ball speed, throw it straight.
Through the first 3 matches, an average of 246.6 this afternoon.
So much on the line here, as I've mentioned, for David Ozio.
Ozio up by 11 pins early against Marc McDowell. McDowell, 29 years old, 2 titles. His 6th championship round appearance. He lost to Tony Westlake in his home state of Wisconsin in the LaMode Classic in Green Bay. Solid 10.
He has kind of a unique style. I've mentioned his footwork. He has a very compact game. He's built low to the ground, and he uses that to an advantage. You can see the straight back swing is straight back and through, close to the ankle. But see how compact his swing is as opposed to a Bryan Goebel who has the long arms and can really extend down the lane. The shorter you are, the shorter your arms are, the more difficult it is to be consistent with accuracy, but at the same time you can create more leverage. As say, for example, a great player like Wayne Webb can do at 5'4". McDowell must use his leg strength to get the ball speed he needs, so it's so important that his timing be perfect, and that little skip he has in his approach is what gets him in position to make good shots. And if he's off a little bit, but as I mentioned, if he's a little fast with his feet, then he'll bowl poorly. But if his timing is good, he's hard to beat.
Coming up next, remember a special Olympic showcase, the Duke Blue Devils and the USSR national team, basketball.
McDowell has to get something going early here. He doesn't want to let... You give David Ozio any room, and it's goodbye. You'll never see him again. As he talked about, it's a horse race. Well, you let David up front. He's a great front runner. You'll never catch him. The washout, very difficult spare. He has to make the ball cross over the head pin here. He wants to get the ball to cover the 1, the 2, and the 8, and have the head pin slide into the 10.
Patty McDowell, watching her man Bryan in action, struggling right now. Oh, that is his second open.
The grinding pressure of bowling for a championship on the PBA Tour can make or break a player's career by how he handles that psychologically. And Marc McDowell has been the top seed in his last 3 television appearances, and he has lost the previous 2. And he's in danger of doing that a 3rd time, and that can really hurt your psyche when you're out there. Hard to get your confidence back. David Ozio, on the other hand, is a very competent player, and as we've mentioned, a great match game player.
Last week at the Brunswick Memorial World Open, he lost the opening match to Ballard. Both of them back here in the top 5 this week. And Ozio rolling along.
Taking advantage of those mistakes, which all great players do. Ozio on 3 in a row and just seems to be dead set in the pocket.
And he's out to a 48-pin lead.
Here's another look at that last shot. Look at the tremendous balance and follow-through he has. It's hard to make mistakes with that kind of a solid game. McDowell, 5th frame. It's almost now or never. And he responded.
That is his first strike in the match, and boy, did he need it.
Even at this point, if he were to go all the way to the wall through the 10th frame, he can only bowl 232. David Ozio, I have a feeling he's going to do much better than that. We'll see.
Top-seeded Roger Bakker, last year winning this tournament, knocked off Dave Husted to win the title. This year, Roger finished 93rd here.
Look out.
Boy, he's really been fighting it on 33.
And he was completely out of time there. He just, there's something in his mind that isn't right. His confidence isn't good. He was out of time at the foul line. And, of course, when you're out of time, you're off balance. And that's what happens. You see here, he's not balanced when he releases the ball. He kind of falls off to the side. And that means he's ahead of the ball. He has to pull the ball through to catch up. And when that happens, it always goes left.
And he picks up the 6-9-10.
David Ozio, on the other hand, supremely confident, cannot afford to make a mistake and let him back in the match. Has to stay aggressive. That's pretty aggressive, I'd say.
Ozio up by 58 pins over Marc McDowell. Everything's going right for David.
As I've mentioned before, that's that tremendous pin action you get out of that hard-hitting urethane ball and the angle it's coming in at, and, of course, the rotation that David Ozio puts on that ball. As so often happens when the match seems to be out of the wood, you relax, you make better shots. That's the best shot he's made today right there, Marc McDowell, and I would expect him to throw more good shots now that the pressure is kind of off him, Jay.
He's terribly disappointed. You know, you get on a Schneider like this, he was 0 for 2 from the top. That was preying on him, and he said, you know, I paid my dues. I think I'm ready to win, but Ozio is really in the driver's seat here. I mean, would take disaster. Yeah.
Well, the most McDowell can do right now at this point, and that was his 8th frame, is spare in the 8th, possible 192 if he were to strike out. David Ozio going at a 230, actually 240 pace.
This match is over.
This match is over. Ozio only needing to show up and keep the ball in the lane, basically.
And Earl, after those remarkable matches,
it's almost anticlimactic.
Yeah, it really is, but not for David Ozio, because he takes a giant step toward Bowler of the Year with this win. He goes over the $200,000 mark, and it's a big, big day for Ozio.
Well, this is the biggest day in his career, Jay. You know, there's no question about that. As you mentioned, he becomes a 10-time champion, which is very important as far as qualifying for the Firestone Tournament champions over the years. He becomes, in my opinion, if there were a vote now, obvious Bowler of the Year. As you mentioned again, the 200,000 mark is a key stepping stone that most players would feel is a wonderful, wonderful year. David Ozio never lets up. He continues to work hard at his game day after day. He's always out practicing. No one works on the fundamentals of the game more than David Ozio. No one practices to learn all the various releases, angles, and be able to perform them under pressure more than
Ozio's the winner. And he will pick up $27,000, and Earl, he'll go over the $213,000 mark.
With 2 tournaments yet to be counted in the money winnings are, of course, the Touring Players Championship next week in Detroit and Taylor, Michigan, and then the Cambridge, which follows that only a few weeks later.
And this doesn't include the money for this year, but that is the money list, and does not include the money from this event, but it was coming into this event. Weber, of course, today picking up $6,500. Ozio will get the top prize of $27,000, and Marc McDowell, he will pick up $14,000.
Another split for him. He just was out of sync from the get-go.
He was. I guess reading a book on positive thinking is a good idea, Jay, for anyone in any endeavor, but it just wasn't what Marc McDowell needed today. He needed to go out there and be aggressive, and he was very tentative from the opening shot. And when you're bowling against David Ozio, as we've mentioned so many times, and you can't express it often enough how talented Dave is and what a great match game player he is, you can't afford a mistake.
After watching all of those games over the 240 mark, it's 160 total for Marc McDowell.
And that will probably bring a smile from David Ozio at this point because it doesn't make any difference. It's all over.
Let's see if it does. I don't know. His crowd is applauding, and have they been treated to some marvelous action here this afternoon.
Over the years, we've seen some tremendous performances, and there's that little smile. He knows it's over, but over the years, we've seen some tremendous performances, Jay, but it's hard to match up against the top five, what they did today. Unfortunately for Marc McDowell, he wanted to win maybe too much, applied too much pressure to himself and couldn't perform. And, of course, David Ozio is part of that pressure that he creates when you go against him in match play.
David Ozio. They're standing and applauding the champion, a score of 235 as he easily defeats Marc McDowell for this title, the 10th title of his career. As we said, a meaningful afternoon. He picks up the $27,000 first prize. He goes over the 213,000 mark. He wins his 10th title, and he has taken a big step toward Bowler of the Year. We'll be back to talk with David Ozio right after this timeout.
It's not easy being a truck.
Like a rock, I was strong as I could be. Like a rock, nothing ever got to me.
But through it all, a Chevy full-size has the best resale value in the business. Chevy trucks.
Like a rock,
The trucks you can depend on. The trucks that last.
Sumo, flat out, more power than you've ever seen in a bowling center.
Most guys kick back on the weekend. Jack, on the other hand, so how do you feel?
Ready to rock and roll.
Only one beer has the taste as genuine as the people who drink it. Budweiser.
Tomorrow,
we're sleeping in.
Gail Gardner back at our Prudential Update studio in New York. Coming up in just a moment, we'll bring you the results from the semifinals of the Virginia Slims Championships, and we'll hear from Bud Collins and Pam Shriver on Martina Navratilova's outspoken remarks regarding Magic Johnson from earlier in the week. We'll get to that right after this message from Prudential.
Come on. We'll fix this place up. We're Winchesters. I wish I never heard of 1636 Cherry Lane.
This is 1639. That's 1636.
In the movies, happy endings are easy, but in the real world, they take planning. So for insurance, investment advice, or the home of your dreams, come to the companies of the Prudential and build your future on the rock.
The semifinals of the Virginia Slims Championships played earlier today at Madison Square Garden. The #1 ranked player in the world, Monica Seles, had no problem with Gabriela Sabatini winning in straight sets 6-1, 6-1. And Martina Navratilova also had an easy time as she beat Yana Novotná 6-1, 6-4. Navratilova and Sellis will meet in tomorrow's final, and a win for Martina would be her 158th career singles title, breaking the mark held by Chris Everett. Well, Martina very much in the news this week when at a press conference she said that she would not have received the compassion shown to Magic Johnson if it had been revealed that she had the AIDS virus because she is gay. There has been much reaction around the country, and earlier today, our Bud Collins spoke with Martina's good friend and doubles partner, Pam Shriver.
Thanks, Gail. Pam Shriver, your partnership, your friendship with Martina goes back a long way. But were you startled when this week, Navratilova, the social critic, upstaged Navratilova, the tennis player?
Not really, Bud, because, well, we know Martina is a very outspoken and honest person, and we had spoken 2 weeks ago at a tournament about when the Magic Johnson thing first came out, that she felt there was a double standard there, that it was okay because he acquired the virus through heterosexual activity, whereas if it was homosexual activity, it would not be as acceptable, and she didn't think that was right, nor do I. And also there's the double standard on the man-woman issue, that if a woman had accommodated as many men as Magic did, and you know, then you get called names, slut, whore, so on and so forth. So there's two double standards there.
Is Martina being rude, stepping in at this time?
I don't think so. I mean, why wait? And it came up in a press conference and or in an interview, and you know, onward. I don't think she realized that it would become as big as it has, but you know, she takes the matter of being a spokesperson for her constituencies very, very seriously now.
Well, try to take your doubles very, very seriously.
We will.
Win for a 10th time. Gail?
All right, thank you, Bud. Pam and Martina lost the first set of the doubles final to Fernandez and Novotny, and in the second set, Pam and Martina are leading 5-4. Right now, let's go back to bowling.
NBC Sports coverage of the PBA Fall Tour has been brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the trucks you can depend on, the trucks that last. By the Olympics Triple Cast, a whole new way to see the games. By Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste, nothing beats a Bud. And by AMF, provider of the heaviest hitting ball in bowling, the AMF Sumo.
It has been an exciting and action-packed afternoon here at Marcel's Olympic Bowl as you look at the action from this afternoon's Chevy Truck Classic. David Ozio will take home that trophy, emblematic of the championship, and $27,000, the first prize. And here's your champion, the man from Ballard, Texas, David Ozio. Congratulations, sir.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm speechless. This has been the most outstanding week of my life, really. You just don't know what it feels like to stand up here in front of you guys. I really have to tell you, though, that I have to give thanks and praise to God for giving me the strength to this day. I'm going to tell you something. Waging through a crowd like this, players like this capacity, Weber and Ballard and Goebel and McDowell was a feat. And I'll tell you what, it just feels mighty good to be here.
David, the scores this afternoon, the matches, I don't ever remember a day like this.
I didn't know what to expect right out of the gate. Those guys shooting numbers like that, and I figured I had to do something. You know, I had my goals set to win, naturally, and I had to make some kind of adjustments in order to try to do that, and boy, things went my way. But the one thing I really want to say is that I would like to thank Chevy Trucks and Chevrolet for being involved in this tournament. The people in the viewing audience just don't realize how valuable they are to the tour and what they contribute to us. They keep us flowing, guys, and that's what this is all about.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you accomplished here this afternoon. You won your 10th title today. You also went over the $200,000 mark. And we'll get the check for you in a little while. And as I said just a few moments ago, there's no question that you took a giant step toward being Bowler of the Year today.
Well, it's like I said, there's still 2 weeks left. I'm not going to look back. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to sit down and rest on my laurels. There's still 2 big weeks left. There's still a lot of great players out there, and my hat's off to them for the race this year. It's been fun.
These matches this afternoon, the first 2 matches, 1-pinners, then the 2-pinner, and then all of a sudden you were able to romp. I mean, that must have been a surprise to you, how easily you got this championship.
Well, I was geared up for it. You can bet on that. I knew that these guys were throwing great shots. We had a playable shot to play today, and I knew it was going to be exciting. And I was just hoping that I could get up and throw equally as good or better shots than my opponents. And usually if you can get up and throw 12 perfect shots and get a little carry involved in it, you're going to do fairly well, and then the rest just happens.
Earl, I know you've got a question for our champion.
Well, I do, Jay, and to me, the key shot of the day for you wasn't one you made yourself. It might have been Bryan Goebel's 10th frame fill ball, the bucket.
Boy, I tell you, that was amazing. When I saw that stand there, all I ask is a chance to get up in the 10th and to control my fate. And when he gave me the chance to do it, it was just up to me to get up and to perform. And that's what I'm out here for. I didn't come out here to finish second. I came out here to win.
All right. That's great. Marcel Fournier, the owner of Marcel's Olympic Bowl, the check for $27,000.
This has been really exciting, and it sure is a lot of fun to present this check. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. You guys have done a tremendous job this week. Promotion of the tournament has been fabulous. The Pro-Am tournament was great. We enjoy coming down to bowl the Pro-Ams, and the crowd here has been one of the best I've seen all year.
Frank Formicola, the tournament director, to present the big trophy. Now, be careful here. There it is.
David, you're going to need a Chevy truck to carry this thing.
Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. There he is, David Ozio. Coming up, Duke and the USSR, an Olympic showcase, basketball. Executive producer of NBC Sports is Terry O'Neill. Today's telecast produced by Jeff Himes and directed by Kevin Shank. Technical director Don Lucy. For Earl Anthony, this is Jay Randolph saying so long from Rochester, New York. This has been a presentation of Bud Sports and the PBA in association